it's Claire from Illuminez TV and thank you so much for joining me. Now today's insight is all about observing without judging. Can it actually be done? Well, I'm not so sure about that. We have this thing called ego. Oh my goodness, I am just so good. Just watch me. That often overrules our ability to act with love and compassion. Hey, are you okay? Can I give you a hand with that? What can I do to help? Now, if you've been following my video blogs, you will know that I'm a big believer in acting from a place of love and not letting ego take over. However, sometimes my ego jumps up and bites me on the bum before I even know it. And it did it to me last week. Now, in my suburb, it was curb collection week. And this is where you get to put out all of your trash on your curb and the council will come and take it away free of charge. How amazing is that? I'm sure if we told people in other countries that this happens in our world, they wouldn't believe us. Anyway, back to the point. I was going for my early morning walk at around 6 a.m. and I couldn't believe how many people were up and about driving around in their utes going through other people's trash. Now I watched a lady climb out of her ute and pile a whole heap of stuff into it. And my instant reaction to this, without me even consciously thinking about it, was a feeling of disdain. And then that was followed by this voice in my head that went something like this. Oh my God, I would never do something like that. That would be so totally beneath me. And then in the very next instant, I was overwhelmed with a feeling of guilt and shame for ever having a thought like that. You know, who am I to judge what other people do? My ego had just reared its ugly head and it basically had said, you know what, I am better than you. So for the rest of my walk, I contemplated what I had just witnessed and why I had thought the way I did. I was really ashamed of it. Now that lady, for all I know, could have been a single mum trying to make ends meet. She may have not had a shelf to put her clothes on. She may have needed some toys for her children. And she may have needed some chairs to sit on. She could have even needed that little kitchen table I saw her with to eat food from. So what is so wrong about recycling the stuff that other people don't want? I would have to say absolutely nothing. Now, I searched back into the recesses of my mind and I wondered if my reaction had something to do with my upbringing. Now, I kind of was just trying to get some clarity around this. I come from a standard middle class family and I must have been told at some point in time that you don't take other people's possessions because that's stealing. So that could have had something to do with it, even though I know factually that taking stuff that other people have put out on the curb is not stealing, I still didn't feel right about doing it. Maybe it was because I don't want other people to disapprove of me and look down on me for going through their rubbish. There's my ego again. And lastly, it could have had something to do with an incident that had happened in my first year of high school. I was in the quadrangle near the canteen and I remember seeing something on the floor that I went to pick up. I'm not quite sure what that object was, but obviously it was something that I wanted. Now I can clearly remember what followed after that. There was a group of girls standing nearby who were in the so-called tough group. They started to yell out at the top of their voices, "Scab! Scab!" And I was so ashamed and embarrassed that I left it on the ground and I just ran away. And that incident and how I felt has never left me. So all of those things could have shaped my beliefs and consequent reaction to people taking things left by the curb. But what is my learning from this, especially if I don't want to always judge other people based just on my own set of beliefs? Now I believe that firstly is to recognise that we are creatures that feel first and then think. This is the way our brains are set up. And I learned this from a lady called Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor, a neuroanatomist who's basically a brain scientist, who wrote the best book I've ever read called My Stroke of Insight. Now Google it if you ever get the chance and go and watch her TED Talk. It's absolutely amazing. Now we have a lower limbic system which is made up of cells located in the deepest layer of our brains, and this system functions by placing an effect or emotion on the information streaming in through our senses. Now we then use our higher cortical cells which are located in our cerebral cortex to put meaning to that information. So biologically, we are feeling creatures that think, not thinking creatures that feel. So no matter what, you will always feel first without having any control over it. There was nothing that I could do in that very instance to stop the feeling of disdain and that little voice in my head saying it was wrong to go through other people's stuff on the curbside. But what I did have control of was what I did with that information afterwards. Now, due to a pretty good sense of self-awareness, I stopped and I consciously used my cerebral cortex to analyse what had just taken place, and then to question if I felt okay with it, which obviously I didn't. So what I'm working on now is trying to create some new neural pathways that will help me to stop judging so quickly. Now, I know it won't happen easily, but as long as I'm aware of it and motivated to make the change, then it will eventually happen. Basically, what I have to do is change that belief system to something that is more congruent with my values today. And I can do this by being more curious, and that's asking questions, analysing and listening first, and being less critical, such as sticking with my first response and not budging from it. So next time you catch yourself judging someone, stop and think about why you are doing it, and whether it is coming from a place of love and compassion, or whether it's coming from a place of ego. I don't think we'll ever get it 100% right, because we're only human and those emotions can take hold very quickly, but we can certainly have a damn good try at it. Have you ever caught yourself judging someone? How did you feel? And have you ever tried to be less judgmental? Please be brave and share it, because I would hate to think that I am the only one judging all the time. Please post your comments below, and if you like this video, please share it with your friends so they can see it as well. Come on over to my website, illuminez.com.au, and check out my other great resources. Make sure you continue to colour the world with your health and happiness. I look forward to catching you next week.